Australia's fledgling distilling industry had hoped to come in for some special tax consideration this year from the incoming Rudd government. But thanks to the binge drinking backlash in the budget targeting pre-mixed spirit drinks, so-called alco pops, the distillers ended up with more excise attention than they'd bargained for. As Sean Murphy reports, it's a setback in their strategy to attract new investors and boost exports.
Grist for the mill at one of Australia's newest distilleries. Juergen Schludi from Germany and Scotsman Tony Browne are preparing a barley mash for the latest batch of single-malt whisky from the Great Southern Distillery at Albany on the south coast of Western Australia. It's a hands-on operation, far removed from the sort of industrial distilling which dominates the industry in Europe.
Certain distilleries over there, you press the enter button on your keyboard and that's it. The rest of the brewing process gets on and does it, you know. Here it's totally hands-on. Here we do, at present, about a barrel a week, whereas where I was doing about 320 barrels a week, so it's 320 to 1. You know, plus they operate continuously. It's continuously from Sunday night through to Friday night. So mashing continuously, whereas we only do 1 or 2 mashes per week. So the scale is just almost infinitely bigger.
The Great Southern Distillery is the brainchild of Cameron Syme, a corporate lawyer and distiller who has invested $3 million in the project to capitalise on surging international demand.
Johnny Walker has been unable to meet worldwide demand in the last 5 years. There are a number of premium whisky distilleries in Scotland that are allocating quotas to some countries, so they're saying you can have a pallet of whisky, that's all that your country can get. This is really being led through what they say the BRIC countries, which is Brazil, Russia, India and China, where there's a burgeoning middle class and people are looking at getting access to premium products.
There are now 17 Australian distilleries, with a couple of new producers entering the market each year. Great Southern's first legally excised single malt whisky has just passed the compulsory 2-year ageing period and will soon be bottled. So what are you looking for in the flavour?
We can taste this much the same as you can with wine. You can only taste 5 different influences on your tongue, but about 3,000 different sensory perceptions from your nose. So most of the tasting is actually done on the smell. Really here we're getting some very light vanilla notes that are coming through, and an elusive sort of apple florally background flavour as well. So now we've nosed it, the next taste will be in the mouth.
And just like wine, whisky has distinctive regional characteristics.
You do, so in terms of wine they might talk about the terroir using the French term. You do with whisky as well, particularly in Scotland they'll talk about Highland or Lowland or Speyside whiskies. We've had a whisky critic come through who've said they can taste a briny influence. We're very close to the ocean, to the Great Southern Ocean. It's just across the road, and I think that's definitely influencing the spirit. We're getting that maritime sort of smell and taste to it.
Okay, girls, we are going to start with the gin first. Just taste it straight first, and then I'm going to put a bit of tonic in it for you so that you know what you're trying, okay?
With about 200,000 visitors a year to Albany, Great Southern opened a cellar door facility late last year, and patrons have been sampling a range of white spirits also produced on the premises.
We came up with the idea that because we were in a premium wine producing region, we could use wine to make a series of what we'd say white spirits. So now we produce vodka and some flavoured vodkas, some gin and a grappa. They don't have to be aged, so we can actually make those products and get them to market in about 5 to 8 weeks.
Oh, that's nice.
It's a welcome injection of cash flow. For Juergen Schludi, the relaxed atmosphere and hands-on nature of a boutique business is a far cry from his experience as a master distiller in Germany.
It's very interesting to start working here and do from the beginning to the end, to the finished product, the whole process.
He's been harnessing premium local produce for his blends, including an experimental vodka using mean or bloodroot, a West Australian native food related to the wildflower kangaroo paw.
It's a native plant. It's growing up from WA, from Juergen to Esperance on Saints. It's a spicy pepper flavour which I want to bring in, for example, our mean vodka.
At the Grove Vineyard near Margaret River, a busy coffee house and salador facility attract about 50,000 visitors a year, and the company has just entered into a joint venture with Great Southern to add distilling to its attraction. Now this 4,500 litre still, salvaged from South Australia, will produce Margaret River's first homegrown brandy product.
We won't make whisky in Margaret River because we don't believe it's the right climatic region for it, but we will certainly make white spirits and brandy there because we think the quality of the produce will be able to compete at the international level.
Besides offering the region's first local brandy, the joint venture will also service a healthy demand from Margaret River's port producers.
Well, right now all the brandy is being basically imported, if you like, from South Australia for the port production over here. We estimate it's around about a 10,000 litre demand for brandy here. Hopefully we'll be able to supply that as we get further into the process. And also we believe that that will increase people's capacity to make port here, because the product's here, you don't have to import it, pay the freight, etc. It's on your doorstep. It's locally produced product, and it will actually make the ports made in Margaret River completely made in Margaret River, if you like.
According to Cameron Syme, one of the biggest barriers to Australia's fledgling distilling industry reaching its true potential is a tax regime heavily weighted against bottled spirit production.
Spirits in Australia are taxed depending on the concentration of alcohol or the level of alcohol in the final product. There is about $65 a litre tax on spirits that are sold in bottles.
Distillers had hoped for a tax cut in line with the rate for so-called alco-pops, which were levied at just $35 a litre. But instead, the government has increased the rate paid for pre-mixed spirits to try to curb underage binge drinking.
They should be saying, if our aim is to minimise the health impacts of alcohol abuse, then they need to look at where is that abuse readily coming from, what are the products on the market, and how is the market reacting to those.
How much is the gin? The gin is $40.
As president of the Australian Distillers Association, Cameron Syme is also pushing for tax relief similar to the wine equalisation tax changes brought in to help small wineries.
The way that it works for wineries is the first $500,000 a year of what they say wet tax or wine equalisation tax, they are exempt from that, whereas distilleries effectively pay tax from the very first sale that you make and all the way through. Certainly the previous government were not interested in providing excise relief to us. I hope that it's something that the Rudd government can take on board and look to say here is an industry in its infancy that does need some support and assistance, and the potential for Australia is a multi-billion-dollar export industry.
The West Australian government says there's a strong case for federal tax reform if the aim is to support viable regional businesses.
They are clearly making a contribution. People want to go to distilleries, they want to sample their product. They're great little businesses, and I'd really like to think that the Treasury could have a look at a tax-free threshold. That might not be the best way of doing it, but it seems to me the easiest to calculate the revenue effect, and would certainly target the assistance right back to the smaller businesses rather than large businesses.
Any tax reform may be slow in coming, but with whisky production, patience is a virtue.
Look, this is a long-term game. We knew when we went into it the business model was going to take 5 to 10 years really to give us the returns. So there is a significant issue of confidence for us in how the business is going and what the world market is like. At the moment, I think it's an opportune time to get in at the ground floor.